Hey guys, it's Shay and this is Shay Writes, and today is going to be my first ever collab video on YouTube. My English teacher once said that one of the greatest collaborations a writer can do is with an artist. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I thought it would be a really good treat since it's almost Halloween to team up with my really good friend and amazingly talented artist, Eednam. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but she has a channel at Eednam's Art Corner, and she also has a gaming channel called Eednam Gaming, and I'll link them both down below so that you can check her out and see her half of the video or whatever she ends up putting up. So it is almost Halloween, and I thought it would be a really fun idea to do some character creation for Halloween. Because that's one of my favorite things to do as a writer, character creation. But I thought we can't just do any sort of character creation. It clearly has to be a monster. So we're going to be making our own original monster today. Making this channel, I took a lot of inspiration from other art channels, and they do a lot of character creation stuff, and I really wanted this channel to not only be about me going on rants or giving advice or doing book reviews, which I feel like is the large majority. I really wanted to give a try at doing actual real writing activities on this channel. It's kind of experimental. This is going to be an experimental video for sure. Writing isn't exactly the most visual of mediums, so it might be a bad choice to choose to make YouTube videos, but that's what I felt like doing, so we're gonna give it a shot and see how it goes. So the plan is that I'm gonna come up with a creature, everything about it, it's what it looks like, smells like, everything else, and I'm gonna write a description and I'm gonna hand that over to my friend Eednam, and she's gonna draw it without me giving her any reference photos or anything else. I think it's gonna be an interesting challenge for both of us, allowing both of us to get some practice in, and as a writer it's really important to be able to have accurate descriptions of your characters and to be able to relay that to the reader so that they can get a clear picture of it. It's really important to be able to relay that to your reader so that they can get and really almost picture in their head about what it looks like. So the more accurate she is at drawing it, I figure the better I was at describing it. So I already have a little something set up on a Google Doc that I'm going to turn to in a second. You can also write a table or whatever by hand on a piece of paper, but this is going to be more of a brainstorming session so that we can get the bare bones of the creature. At this point of the stage, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to go into any origin stories or backstories or the mythology of the creature. That can come later. Alright, so this is the setup that I previously had, but these are just kind of the main things that I think are important when creating a monster. If you have other things that you can think of that you might want to add, you can absolutely go ahead and add it, but this is what I came up with on my own. So I have physical appearance, setting, mannerisms, behavior, the senses, abilities / killing style. At this point, it really is just a brainstorming session, so I wouldn't worry too much about what you get down. You can always add and cut things later. But under physical appearance, this is all just going to be point form and very brief descriptions and not much else. Under physical appearance, I already know that I want the character to be female because I want more scary female monsters, I suppose. So I'll put that under there. So that's probably a good place to start. You can start anywhere. You don't have to go through these columns in order like I am. I just figured that's easier. I know that I want her to have long spidery fingers. I want her to have long inky black hair. And I want it to be straight black hair. If things aren't coming to you, you can take all the time that you need. Obviously, I have a few ideas of what I want to do already, but there's a lot that I still have to come up with, and they're not going to always come super easy. I want her to be super thin. Bones, ribs showing. I want her to be super tall. Okay, so female with spidery fingers, straight black hair, super thin, ribs showing, super tall. I think I want her to be more like an animal. Like, I don't want her to be the next Slender Man wearing a suit. I want her to have a deer, not a skeleton. I want her to have a deer skull for a face. Why not? I think deer skulls are cool. So, bear with me. Sharp teeth is a must for any monster, in my opinion. I guess if she has a deer skull, she should have deer horns, right? Want her to have, what type of skin does she have? Okay, white, pale skin. With short dark hair. I'm thinking almost like spider fur, maybe not, I don't know. Short dark hair. Maybe you don't even see the pale skin. Maybe I'm thinking like how polar bears are. Like they have black skin but white fur, maybe. I don't know how it actually works. That's a lot that I have already. That's a really good start, but I think I want to go a bit more. She has a dark mass of emptiness for the eyes. And of course, y'all, I'm not a good speller, so a writer who's not the best speller, that's nice. You guys should really take advice from me. Dark mass of emptiness for the eyes. What else can I do to make this creature really creepy? I feel like it's going for a more creepy vibe right now. Like I'm picturing like, I guess like already I have some pictures for the setting. Like I'm picturing a dark forest for sure. I want her legs to be like, her back legs are deer legs. Like the twisted backwards. You know when like the animal, it looks like they have like backwards knees, but like they're really just, they stand on their toes. I think that could be kind of a creepy look. and that goes with like the more animalistic theme. So I think that's good for now. Add more to the setting. So obviously when you're first creating your monster, you probably start to get an idea of where they would live in your head already, but it's probably a good idea to think of it in more specifics. Like, is your monster something that can be, like, is your monster something that kind of exists everywhere? Like, I guess the Slender Man kind of goes where his victims are, where people know his name, or is kind of like a cultural thing where certain monsters are in certain geographic areas, like Nessie is in the Loch Ness Lake or whatever. Like just things that don't necessarily have to do with its description, but might help get the feel of what the monster is. I'm kind of getting the feel of Latin America, just like the deep, dark forests. Yeah, so I guess it's definitely a regional monster. It's not something that exists everywhere. Maybe there's a lot in places that have those types of forests. You don't have to spend a lot of time on setting, I suppose, but it's good to kind of know where they are. Mannerisms and behavior. This is pretty important for descriptions. I would say it's almost as important as the physical appearance, if not as important, because that's going to be a part of the descriptions, and the behavior is a lot of what makes something scary. Like what I said before, very animalistic. It has an animal intelligence. I picture it in my head as being smarter than the average animal. So I'll move on to the next one for now. If I can think of anything else, I can come back to any section at any time. So the senses. By the senses, I don't mean the animal senses. I guess I put down the animal senses in manners and behavior, but I guess that should really go under abilities. But by the senses, I mean if a human ran into it, what would it smell like? What would you hear? Even what does it feel like? Stuff like that. That's pretty important for descriptions too. Smells really bad. I'm just gonna put that out there. Not like garbage. Smells like death. Smells like blood. What does it feel like? Very hard and bony, which makes sense. Keep in mind that a lot of the times each section, you won't be doing them in isolation. I'm doing them one after the other, but a lot of them connect. If you have something developed in one section, then it would make sense to have another section reflect that. So since I'm deciding overall that it's a very animalistic creature, that kind of reflects in every section that I'm writing. It wouldn't make sense to dress it up in a suit like Slenderman. Let's go to killing style, because this thing is not just gonna stare at you. It's gonna kill you. Doesn't have claws or talons or anything like that. Guess up here it would make sense. Hooves. Okay, so there's a lot more things that I can add, and as I go from taking what I have of the character and creating actual story out of it, I'll probably think of a lot more and add a lot more to it. But this is kind of just a good activity to get your brain flowing and to start creating. So I think this is a good bare bones of what I have right now. So physical appearance, female, long spidery fingers, long inky straight black hair, it's super thin, bones, rib showing, it's naked, it's super tall, it has a deer skull for a face, it has deer horns, sharp teeth, white pale skin with short dark fur. Its eyes are just a mass of emptiness or maybe black mist. Its back legs are maybe the reverse, kind of like normal deer legs with hooves. Setting is in a dark forest. I decided it was culturally in Latin America, only seen at night. During the day, it stays in a cave or abandoned mine or a house or whatever it can find during the day. Mannerisms behavior, animalistic. It has an animal intelligence, so it's extremely intelligent. But it's very like the animal type intelligence, the predator instincts, and all those things. It does stand on two legs. It kind of tends to shuffle along, but it can be very fast, deceptively fast, hunts you down, very good senses, very good sense of smell specifically, so it can definitely track you by scent, stares unnervingly, hunts alone. The senses, so what you perceive if you are unlucky to run into this thing. Very silent, can maybe hear a small shuffling noise when it's around, and that's it. Smells really bad. Smells like death, like blood, but its own smell doesn't really seem to stop it from being able to track other scents. It's very hard and bony, almost no meat or muscle. The hair is very coarse, uncomfortable, abilities and killing style. It hunts you down one by one, it appears to you in visions before it arrives physically, crushes you with its hooves or antlers, doesn't usually use its teeth to actually kill you. It's very hard to kill, must burn it entirely, cut off the head, or cut out the heart. Hides behind a black mist and is very physically strong. So I think that's a pretty good set of characteristics. You don't have to go overboard with everything at all. The last thing that I think is important is really one of the hardest stages that I have to go through when creating a character, and that's coming up with a name for it. I spend way long trying to think of names. I try to think of the cultural background of a character, where they are physically speaking, like what country they're in, what time period they're living in, if they would have an old-fashioned name or not. I try to go into what their name means, and I tend to give characters significant meanings behind their names, which is all well and fun, but when you spend too long on one stage, you never get to the actual writing part. So I'm not going to take forever to name this creature. This time, not going to do it. So a few questions that you do have to answer. Is your creature a pack creature? Or maybe it's not a pack creature, but are there more than one of the same creature? Is it a species? Is it like the weeping woman? Or is it something that there's a lot of, rather than just one? Is it like Pennywise the clown, or is it like Bigfoot, where it might be one or it might be many? Is it a species? Do humans know about it? Regarding its name, think about the possibilities. Is its name like Pennywise, where it came up with the name itself, or was it named by humans? When would humans have come into contact with? How old is it? Is it ancient, or is it something relatively new? All things that you need to kind of like think about when you're coming up with a name, but also throughout coming up with characters, because it's important. So when thinking about my particular monster, it's very much like an animal, so I'm thinking that it's part of a species, and I decided that it was from Latin America. I think it would make sense for them to be the one to give it the name. So to make it really easy, I just put into Google Translator the deer people, and I came up with Los Cervos. That's probably not how you pronounce it. I will definitely look that up later. But that's what this monster is called by the people who tell stories about it and have encounters with it. And that's what it's called in its mythology. So that is obviously plural. So, like I said, there are multiples. There are more than one of this creature out there prowling the forests. However, I did say that my monster was female, so in my head, I'm thinking of a specific monster still. I'm not going to give that monster a specific name. It's still going to go by Los Cervos, just because I figure it's like Bigfoot. If you're going the route that I'm going, it might be a good idea to give that monster some of its own individual characteristics that are outside of the characteristics that are existent for the species. When creating a character, you always want to do more. You always want to add things, get down to the really specifics, know every single thing. But during this activity, you really don't need to know every single thing. That can come later, and that can even come while you're writing the story itself. You can get a lot of inspiration. So give yourself freedom to be creative while you're writing the story. You don't have to know everything right now. So I think that's a really good start that I have here. I think it can make a pretty interesting monster. I think it sounds scary. Just another note, when you're creating your own monster, don't be too worried about being super original. Of course, you want to be original and you don't really want to copy anyone else's thing, but there is the saying that nothing on this earth is really original anymore, and everything takes inspiration or is influenced by something else. So don't worry too much about if your monster is too similar to other monsters that you've heard in movies or stories or even myths that already exist, because the important thing is adding enough of your own unique ideas that you make it your own. I think that I can admit that this monster has turned out to be pretty similar to monsters that exist, but I think that, or I hope that it's unique enough to be its own creation. And I think that's okay. I like to think of it as artists when they use reference photos for their own work. It's okay when you're doing this process to go and be doing research at the same time if you want to get ideas or specific things. You might also want to go the route of getting different characteristics of animals and smashing them together. I had spidery fingers and I had a deer skull and whatever else, and deer hooves, but it was kind of like humanistic still. So it's probably a smart idea to look at pictures at least while you're thinking of these so that you can have a fresh idea of what they look like and you can put them together in your head so that you know exactly what your monster would look like. So now that I have all of that done, I'm going to go and write a short description and I'm going to hand that off to Eednam and we're going to see what monster she can create out of it.